This is the Tenryuji Temple just outside of Kyoto in Japan. Tenryuji means the Temple of the Heavenly Dragon. This was basically built as a Zen garden, and it's considered one of the finest in Japan, with contemplative waters where you sit around and think of all sorts of important things. It was built around the early 1300s. With the various civil wars over the centuries, it's been destroyed and rebuilt on a number of occasions. But this is a pretty special place. You might notice, by the way, when you look up the hillside behind us there, a lot of the actual wild flowering cherries, which of course have been brought down into the cities and used so well. And if you've ever wondered why they call the Japanese black pine the black pine, well, one of the reasons is this one here is the Japanese red pine. Red because of the colour in the trunk. Designed to be viewed from the temple is, well, certainly the best water feature that I've ever seen in my life. This is really very, very nice. There's an effortlessness about it that really, I don't think Westerners are very good at creating. The Japanese and also the Chinese are very good at creating something like this that's tranquil, but it's highly symbolic, and I wouldn't claim that I understand all of the symbolism, in fact, not all that much, but I've got a couple of bits to tell you about. The whole lake itself, well, the whole precinct is sort of symbolic of the Island of the Blessed, and there is one particular Island of the Blessed with a very tall rock in it. And the islands within this all are symbolic. You've got Turtle Island over there and Crane Island here. There's a lot of Buddhist symbolism. The Island of the Blessed is Buddhist symbolism. Wherever you look, you not only have great beauty, but great reassurance that your worldview is one that works and there is a better world waiting for you beyond. This is a pet shop in Tokyo, and it's a little bit different to the pet shops that we find in Australia. For instance, right beside me here is a poor little hornbill in a frighteningly small cage, but there's chameleons of just about every colour, horned toads in colours I had no idea that they existed, number of Australian lizards, all sorts of bits and pieces like that, mice for pets, little coloured mice and all the rest of it, mice for snake food, spiders, enormous tarantulas just in the body alone, this sort of size. Just about every weird animal. There's even a toucan up there on a pole. This is quite strange, full of snakes, every sort of lizards, huge tortoises, turtles, and of course, as you'd be aware, a number of these would be probably illegal or whatever, but nonetheless, lots and lots of them, and many of these pets go up into the well, something like $1 million yen for some of them, so it's a lot of money, huge amount of money for their pets. Obviously, they place a lot of store in having some of these ones. This little tortoise here, you might notice he's got the little sign on his back that basically says, watch out, you'll lose a finger. And lastly, the cages and technology that goes with them. Although you may not like some of these animals being kept in captivity, they spend a fortune on cages, heaters, air conditioners, everything else to make sure that these pets live relatively good lives and presumably breed and so on. It really is astonishing. We have nothing like this in Australia. There is a bonsai village at Omiya in Japan. This is a great place. If you're into plants, you will adore this area. This particular nursery here belongs to Saburo Kato, and I suppose he's the doyen of bonsai people all over the world. Every plant here is something that any bonsai lover from anywhere in the world is going to go weak at the knees when they behold it. These are extraordinary works of art. Really hard to explain, but the talent and the amount of work in almost every one of these plants is right up there with a Mona Lisa. And you probably won't believe me, but many of them actually, in my opinion, would be well beyond that level of artistry. Mr. Kato, this Zelkova is one of your very best bonsai?
Maybe you cannot find two of those in Japan. It's a very, very rare Zelkova.
What do you particularly value in this plant?
There are many good parts to this bonsai, but especially because there are many equally balanced branches.
So this is a great test of his skill in shaping plants?
Yes, I believe so. But I always look forward to next 50 or 100 years. And we have to think that this tree will last like this in good shape for many, many years.
Often the plants are many, many hundreds of years old. They may only have been in containers for perhaps 100 years, but then they may have been collected from the wild, and they may have been some thousands of years old before they were collected. Now, it's very hard for us Westerners to understand what bonsai means to the Japanese. The Japanese respect people, civilization, and above and beyond everything else, they respect nature, and it is part of their whole philosophical world view. They don't have, I suppose, the same sort of religious view we've got so much as a philosophical view of man's place in nature. And I suppose the wonderful thing about the Japanese is that they see their place in nature as being a small one indeed, Mother Nature being much greater than the human being. It's a wonderful view. Mr. Kato, what happens to your bonsai when you pass on?
I have asked my sons to pass on from generation to generation. I have made hundreds of bonsai, but many of them have been taken by other people. Only these are left. So I hope that my sons keep these as my remembrance.
The critical bit of bonsai is all in the root pruning. Now, this is Hatsuji Kato, who is the elder Mr. Kato's son. This, as I said, is the pivotal bit. It's normally done in very late winter or very early spring, which is about the time it is now when we're filming. And basically every few years, depending on the size of the plant, a proportion of the roots is taken off, rarely more than about a third. They're often raked out with some sort of device and then given a bit of a trim, and then it's often put back into the same pot with a little bit of fresh potting mix. Do it at the wrong time of the year and the plant dies. Do it the wrong way and the plant dies. In fact, if you hold your mouth the wrong way, the plant dies. If you want to learn about this, join a bonsai club. Mr. Kato, this Sargent's juniper looks very, very old.
It is said it's 1,000 years old, but I think it's more than 1,200 years old.
I can assure you right now, every bonsai enthusiast watching this program really is salivating. These are just astonishing creations, either, as I said earlier, as art or as, I suppose, living plants. You feel very insignificant when you stand beside something like this, partly for the fact that it's, whatever it is, 1,200 years old and you're not, but secondly because it is such an extraordinary achievement. I mean, given a long time and a lot of help, I could never create something like that or any of the other trees here. Absolutely wonderful. You must come here. Visit the bonsai village at Omiya. You must if you ever visit Japan. Coming up after the break, you will see the Japanese long-tailed fowls, and their tails can be up to 13 metres long. We're also going to see some stunning sort of semi-indoor courtyard gardens, and then the high-tech toilets of Japan.